You Were Never Really Here is the new psychological drama slash thriller from director Lynne Ramsay, who you might know from Ratcatcher, which is in the Criterion Collection. Many people have compared this film to Taxi Driver, and while I feel like there are a lot of similarities, it really stands alone as an amazing film that takes aspects of the revenge narrative into new areas and comments on the genre. The film stars Joaquin Phoenix, who is an undercover kind of rescuer of lost girls who has a reputation for being quite brutal in the way that he retrieves them. The film opens up with him cleaning up after what appears to have been a murder that took place during one of his most recent rescues. The plot of the film centers on a senator's request for him to retrieve his 13-year-old daughter from a underage brothel that's operating in town. But while all this is taking place, we've discovered that Joaquin Phoenix's character, Joe, is a recovering veteran from the Gulf War who has a lot of internal trauma. And on top of that, he lives with his aging mother, who he loves very much, but who is very challenging. The film has a lot of flashback sequences that are done in an almost experimental way. And as a rule, I tend to not like flashbacks in films, specifically because it feels like a cop-out that is taking you out of the action of the film, and you have to have a really good reason, in my opinion, to be doing this. The way that Lynne Ramsay does this is totally masterful. I can't describe how she achieves this very subtle language of cinema that is able to tell you things through showing them to you in a way that is like refreshing to see. So much of the time, even films that I enjoy and admire are just telling you things in a really unsubtle way, giving you exposition in ways that I feel like is clunky. This film gave me so much exposition and a sense of what had gone on in this guy's life and the trauma without ever really coming out and telling you. I also felt like this was a really effective way of telling a story in the sense that it connected Joaquin Phoenix's character with the girl, the senator's daughter that he was rescuing, in ways that are hard to describe. You knew through the camera work, through the subtlety of the language of the film, that they were linked internally. Like their characters on the inside were somehow related. The kind of trauma that she went through and the trauma that he went through put them in the same group, sort of. And this was only confirmed later on in the film, and I won't spoil it, but we see, that they're actually more alike than we ever really knew. Revenge films are fun, but so much of the time they take a very complex emotional thing and revert it to its sort of pulpy base, and what we're getting from it is kind of a visceral thrill. And while this film was filled with violence and things that were quite visceral, there was this way that the violence was portrayed that always felt like it was somehow removed from the actual brutality of it. And the title, You Were Never Really Here, I felt like somehow was attached to the way that he was never really there during these killings and during like the working through of his trauma. There was this sort of like absence of himself during these times that was felt through the filmmaking. And I won't go into the ending, but I felt as though there was a lot of things at the end of the film that also confirm this. So I'm going to give this film a 90 out of 100. I felt like it was really strong. I definitely am interested in seeing it again in the near future. The performances were amazing, the directing was amazing, and yeah, what a strong voice, an excellent deconstruction of the revenge film that kept aspects of the revenge film that, you like in kind of a not so nice way, but also elevated it in a thoughtful and provocative way that really spoke about the challenges one faces when they're carrying around that kind of burden. That kind of trauma, and how there isn't really like an answer through catharsis always. So